So for today's Tip Tuesday, I wanted to show you a trick that I learned a while ago, which is how to find and cut accurately the grain line knits. If you're wondering about my fingernails, visit my Fail Friday post from last week. I did some fun shibori dyeing and ended up a little bit Blue Man group there. So anyway, that's the story of my fingernails. But if you're cutting a woven fabric, you know, it doesn't shift around much. You can kind of lay it out straight. You can use the selvage, which is on both wovens and knits, to measure with a ruler and make sure that you're on grain. The selvage is this manufactured line at the edge of your fabric. So if you're using a knit though, you're often cutting on the fold. And it can be difficult to make sure that you're on grain. And if you cut something off grain, especially if it's something that's a longer garment, like a long skirt, or especially a pair of pants, it's gonna twist on you. I have a couple ready to wear pants that do that, and that's really annoying. So here's how to kind of avoid that with a knit. You'll notice that if you look at the knit carefully, that there are these lines that are running vertically down the fabric. And if you've ever actually done any real knitting, you'll know that that's kind of the way that it's constructed. So you'll notice that there are these lines, and if I have my fabric over here, more or less, there's a little bit of a wrinkle in it, more or less straight on my cutting mat, that doesn't mean that it's on grain, because you can see these little ribs are not running straight with the line of the cutting mat. And so what you want to do, or what I do, is I go ahead and I pinch the edge of the fold of the fabric where I want it to be. And you can do this anywhere on the fabric, so it doesn't have to be quite as far down as I have it, but I'm cutting a really big skirt. And I find one of those little ribs, and then I grab a pin and I just pin along the fold to keep that rib in place. And then I kind of manipulate the fabric, make sure the next rib is where I want it, and pin down. I've done that down here so you can kind of see the example. So I'm following this little rib to make sure that the fabric is pinned there. It's a little challenging to show you with one hand, and that edge actually needs to be worked on a little bit, because you can see here, see how it's twisting right here, so I need to fix that. But that's how I find and stabilize the grain line on a knit, so that when I put something on the fold and I've smoothed out the rest of my fabric, I can make sure that it's all on grain and that it's not going to twist. This is not necessarily going to help you that much if your fabric is actually printed off grain and you have a print that you want to go straight. But for most knit fabrics, it does help. So that's my Tip Tuesday. I hope that's been helpful for you. And I'd love to know what you think, so leave a comment.